Hi folks, this is Sherynne from Serenity Sounds in Newcastle, New South Wales, Australia. I recently relaunched my business Serenity Sounds. I'd had to close it after we had lockdowns here. And anyway, recently I've reopened it and I'm stepping back into a lot of the spiritual work and teaching people self-care. So I'm going to be bringing to you oracle cards and other videos here on my YouTube channel. Please subscribe, like the video, share it if you find it of benefit to yourself, for others. And also I've got an Instagram page for Serenity Sounds Newcastle and a Facebook page as well. So perhaps you can duck over there on social media and like those pages for me and share them and start to enjoy some of the content that I'm sharing there regularly as well. The oracle card reading that I'm bringing to you today is twofold. Firstly, we have our first card from the Oracle of Shadows and Light by an Australian woman, Lucy Cavendish. Lucy is an amazing young woman who is also a published author. She has the book Beyond Lemuria, Atlantis and Avalon, which I found extremely interesting. And then she's got a number of oracle card decks. The second set of oracle cards that I'm using today are by Gabby Barker, and it's the Raven Cards Oracle as well. So I've been guided intuitively to use these today. Why would we go for the Oracle of Shadows and Light first up for our very first Serenity Sounds Oracle card reading? Simply because here in the Southern Hemisphere, we're actually in the period of hibernation and reflection. We're in the middle of the winter season. It's July. We've had a very cold snap strike. We've had lots of snow down in the snowfields, in the snowy mountains, and down in the highlands in Victoria as well. And all of the states are being blasted with this polar ice, which is icy wind, which is driving everyone indoors. And we can't escape from ourselves in the winter time, folks. This is a great time of reflection of who we really are. And a lot of us have been taught to deny our shadow selves, and yet it's a part of who we are. It's the yin and the yang of who we are. It's the light and the dark. It's the good and the not so good, you know, and we've been taught to shy away from that part of ourselves which we don't like about ourselves, and sometimes we can give ourselves a really hard time about that as well. So from a self-care perspective, I'm here to encourage you to actually do the reflection work. Have a look at the areas of yourself that you would like to change and start to think about how you might like to change those. And please remember, if you're looking for more guidance, you can come to Serenity Sounds. We can do an online oracle card reading with you. I also do wonder sessions and self-care workshops with people as well that can help you to begin to put your self-care toolkit together and start to be a bit kinder to yourself. But let's dive right in with this beautiful oracle card reading. So this again is from the Oracle of Shadows and Light. I'm just calling in our guides. I've already grounded this morning. I've been outside in my Shambhala gardens in the sunshine. It was absolutely beautiful. Had my bare feet contact with earth, and the guides have come in and they've actually shared a card with us, and it's the Dried Flower Fairy, Sweet Memories. And this card is card number 11. My goodness, I was just talking about Shambhala Gardens. So card number 11 is actually in numerology, folks. It's a master number. Master number 11 actually represents Shambhala, which is a Sanskrit word. It's spelled S-H-A-M-B-H-A-L-A. It's a Sanskrit word that roughly translates to a place. And my interpretation as a sound therapy meditation facilitator is or state of peace, happiness, and tranquility. Card number 11 also becomes number 2 in numerology, and number 2 actually represents compassion. So this is asking you, where do you actually need more self-compassion in terms of looking at the shadow side of yourself while you're going through reflection, while you're going through hibernation? How can you provide yourself with more self-compassion as a part of your self-care, so that you're not actually beating yourself up? You know, this can help to create really sweet memories. And sometimes when we're focusing on bad memories, if we can actually shift our vibration and think, well, what was the silver lining in that experience? What was the sweet spot? What did I get out of it that I can actually bring into my world now that can help to replace the feeling that I'm experiencing that is really uncomfortable at the moment? How can this actually help me to stretch and to grow? And also, when we look at the dried flower fairy, for us to be able to get dried flowers, we actually need to go out in nature. So this is actually reminding you that even though this is a period of hibernation and a time of reflection in the winter months, and sometimes it could, you know, there could be storms happening in the northern hemisphere that's driving people inside as well. As soon as you get the opportunity to, folks, actually get outside, get outdoors, get amongst nature. Even if it's cold, go and hug a tree, you know, get your feet on the ground. Feel yourself experiencing the moment in a forest, or if you're in the snowfields, listen to the tinkle. I remember taking my sons, oh, this is such a sweet memory. I remember taking my sons to the snowfields when my oldest son was 13 and my youngest was 10. And I remember my youngest playing on a toboggan on this huge hill, and we were at Perisher Valley, and my eldest son and I went and sat on a rock under a tree that was covered in icicles. And I said to him, shh, listen. And we listened, and we could literally hear the icicles tinkling. And yes, it was cold, and we had this, you know, this steam coming out of us when we were breathing out, and we were laughing about that as well. But the thing is, we were in nature, and we were actually really inhaling the air, and we were immersing ourselves in the moment as well. So find a way back to Shambhala, to that place or state of peace, happiness, and tranquility, by being really kind to yourself and coming back to some of the sweet memories, and actually get out in nature, and perhaps ask Earth if you can pick a flower and take it home and dry it, and allow that to become a new sweet memory for you. There is more information in the guidebook, folks, but we're not going into that today. What we're going to do now is we're actually moving into the Raven cards. I love these cards. I often, almost every single day, I see or hear crows here in Australia. They are slightly different to the raven, but I actually love that bird. Often I'll wake up in the morning and I hear them calling in their really unique way. Sometimes they'll fly over my garden here in Newcastle, and other times I'll see them out on the road as well. But they call me and they swoop in front of me and they get my attention. And today they're wanting to get our attention as well, you know. And so this one is the bottom card. I've been guided to look at 2 cards. So this is the bottom card. It's actually appears to be empty. However, this is not about being empty. This is actually about creating space. When we create space, we actually allow the flow of the old to go out and the new to come in. And what we're doing with this particular card here from the Oracle of Shadows and Light from Lucy Cavendish is we're actually exploring in our reflection period, in our hibernation, we're actually exploring that shadow side of ourselves. And when we start to look at how can we actually flip that, how can we let go of that and create a new sweet memory rather than hanging on to the bad memories or to bad feelings about ourselves, when we let it go, when we actually surrender, we actually create space. And we create space for the new to come in. And the new, folks, is beauty, and this is where we actually stretch and grow. And yes, it can be very uncomfortable. At times we can feel like how it must feel for a snake that actually sheds its skin. You know, it's got to squirm and it's got to really struggle to actually get out of that skin. And yet it leaves it behind because it's not serving it any purpose any longer. And that's what we can do with these old limiting beliefs about ourselves, with these shadow sides of ourselves that we've shoved down and haven't allowed to actually come to the surface. And when we do actually allow them to come to the surface and we greet them and we see them for what they really are, as just another aspect of us. You know, we're all beautiful diamonds. We shimmer in the sunshine, in the light. And if we see ourselves as being a beautiful diamond with 52 different facets to ourselves, some of the facets need a bit of polishing. And that's where the shadow actually comes up, and we can literally polish away those old moments, those old ways of being, those old ways of feeling about ourselves, and actually allow ourselves to stretch and grow, to shed that skin that no longer serves us well. And when we do that, we actually create the space that Raven is talking about. Now, this was on the bottom of the deck. Now I'm taking the card from the top of the deck. Ah, wow. How do we know? This says, oh, I've got goosebumps. Now, for anyone that's getting goosebumps at the moment, that is your soul body cellular memory. This is your body actually, 11:38, 11:11, double shambhala. You know, so the message here, folks, is that soul body cellular memory that is coming up through the goosebumps is a reminder that you already know this. We're just helping you along through the guides, through me channeling this message, through these beautiful oracle decks. We're just being reminded that we can bind your wounds well and reflect. Your innermost being can never be hurt. That is no feeble consolation, but rather it is the way. And notice the way is actually in capitals. Bind your wounds well. So what does it mean to bind our wounds? If we look at it from a first aid perspective, even a mental health first aid perspective, what that means is we're actually wrapping it in love. We're wrapping it in compassion. We're wrapping it in kindness. We're actually accepting what it is. We're allowing it to come up. We're allowing ourselves to actually feel the emotion around it. And we're actually wrapping that. We're binding it, not to restrict it, not to hide it, but to allow it to actually heal. Healing is worth the journey. It's time. If you've come across this message today, you've come across this message because it's time for you to realize this, to do this for yourself, to reflect, to allow the shadow self to come to the surface, to stretch and grow and leave that old skin behind, whether it be a limiting belief, a bullshit rule that somebody told you when you were growing up, or whether it be something that you've been hiding from yourself. Allow it to come to the surface. Give yourself a dose of compassion and look after yourself well. That's what binding ourselves well means. Take care. Until next time. Namaste.